Now, in continuing with the Battle of Gallipoli, after the British Expeditionary Force with the French and the Australians and the New Zealanders got ashore in the Gallipoli Peninsula, they began pushing forward as best they could, but once again they were told wrong and that they thought for sure that the Turks would scatter as soon as they showed up. The Turks were actually defending their homeland. They began to fight like lions for their prey. And there's actually instances of the Turks pushing back forces 3-4 times their size defending themselves. And the Turks had less equipment, less guns, less shoes, less everything, where the British group was completely supplied with everything, but yet the Turks were still able to keep them at bay. It went back and forth where thousands and thousands of men were dying every day because the situation deteriorated into trench warfare. And what happened with that, what usually comes with trench warfare, is you have the problems that come with having trench warfare, which is the men are all getting sick. There's dead and dying bodies everywhere. And because of that, they have open latrines, which means there's an insect problem. All the men are getting dysentery. And there's the illness all over the trenches. Things are getting, and plus they also had one of the hottest summers they ever recorded in that area. So not only are they dealing with all the other fun things with being in the trenches, they're also dealing with scorching heat. And then it would go on, as the campaign moves further, they would have one of the coldest winters that they had on record in that area. So they had the best of both worlds on that one. They actually had snow in that area. And things got so bad. I mean, the Australian troops, they lost a lot of confidence in the ones at the top making the decisions. And the Turks were kind of feeling the same way. I'm going to quote one particular officer that he wrote a letter. He said, "I don't wish to be rude to the higher powers, but this seems to be an absent-minded war. The Navy can't find the enemy's guns. The ammunition for our guns is very short. Medical stores are always on the way. It's like a curious deadlock in which I would very much like to live through and see the explanation, but I do not expect to do so. Percival Fenwick." And that would be the point of view of many of the troops throughout the entire campaign. And finally it got to where so many men were dying, and it came down to the fall where the British were deciding, do we continue this campaign? We're really getting nowhere because of the trench warfare. And well, one of the higher ups actually came and he decided in the fall that it was best to evacuate the campaign and retire from the campaign. So in the fall of 1915, the British and the Expeditionary Force came out. Most of the Anzacs were either stationed in Western Front in France, or they were stationed somewhere in Egypt or in other places. So those are some of the things that would happen with that. And Winston Churchill, because of his hand in this and the utter disgrace he dealt with on this matter, he actually went across the channel and he checked into a French hotel under an assumed name. But after that, he resigned his position in the War Cabinet and went on to try to command troops in the battles in the Western Front so he could get a better feel of what's going on. So those are some of the events that happened from there. The feeling and power of the events of Gallipoli to the Australians, I've been told, is of the same magnitude of what the Alamo means to people of the United States, just to give you a comparison for how deeply edged in the psyche of Australians this battle was. More on that to come.